Let's go. All right, greeting folks. Phil Gallagher here of ThrabenU for another sweet Legacy stream. Today we are playing a bit of a brew that Simone S. sent me. We are playing another mono black prison deck, which they have dubbed Obedient Regisaur. We are a Helm of Obedience Rotting Regisaur deck. So the idea is that we're playing some early prison pieces or things that otherwise disrupt our opponents. So Chalice of the Void, Trinisphere, Leyline of the Void, and to a lesser extent Defense Grid and Sorceress Spyglass. And we're trying to use those cards to buy us time to resolve one of Rotting Regisaur, Helm of Obedience, or Karn, and then use those to go and sort of take over and hopefully win the game. So for mana acceleration, we have Ancient Tomb, City of Traders, and Mox Diamond. So we're sitting at 28 mana sources. Not quite half of our deck is mana. And we have Crucible of Worlds as sort of honorary mana sources as well, helping us to replay our City of Traders, Wastelands, and Polluted Deltas. The sideboard is a lot of what you would expect. It's a whole bunch of the traditional one-ofs for a Karn tutor package. And then we have some redundancy here, plus another Crucible of Worlds in the sideboard. Looking at the deck list here, I have some concerns about like consistency and it stumbling over itself a little bit. But we'll kind of see how it plays out. And sorry, I'm just checking one thing on my back end real quick before I get going here. Okay, I did do that. I'm good to go. All right. Some of the sideboard cards here are pretty powerful. Like Ashiok recently on stream has done some really cool things. I'm a little concerned about how good it will be in this shell, because in the other shells that we've played it in, we've had Dark Ritual to help power it out. So this can't be a turn 1 or 2 play unless we're running into like multiple. Basically, unless we have Mox Diamond, we can't play this on turn 2. Like Swamp Mox Diamond gets us down on turn 2, but if we have to start on like an Ancient Tomb or a City of Traders for any reason, we can't play this as a turn 2 play. And we don't have the ability to play it as a turn 1 play off Mox Diamond. I also don't know like how consistently good Crucible of Worlds is going to be. And I don't know how much I love Rotting Regisaur in Game 1 scenarios where like it turns on removal that might otherwise be dead. But we'll see how it plays out. I've always had fun with these sorts of deck lists, so like one way or another, I'm looking forward to this. Legacy League, Regisaur V2, let's go. Hope you all are having a great day. I've been having a lot of fun jamming Legacy on my spring break, and that's going to be continuing all week. Holy volume, Batman. Let's get that to chill. Although you all shouldn't be able to hear that. Been playing a handful of games in my off time, in between streams and the other stuff I'm doing to relax. Played a lot of Slay the Spire last night. The game's real fun. Yes. This is going to be a good hand. Three ball, let's go. We're hoping not to just get like wastelanded. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. Like 90+% over the bronchitis. Like I'm actually working out again, which is really nice. So there's no sorcery in the graveyard yet, so I would need to pay essentially 7 life to kill this Tarmogoyf. That kind of sucks. Um, yeah, I mean, immediately, I don't think I like Toxic Deluge in this deck. Like, the tension here with this Plague Engineer and with the Ancient Tomb is insane. So I think this hand is pretty difficult to play. It might just be Regisaur time and like ignore this Toxic Deluge. I need to cast this Deluge for X equals 5 and also tap Ancient Tomb if I want to get rid of Tarmogoyf via Toxic Deluge, and I don't really know that that works out. So that's life right now. I don't think I can just play out the Plague Engineer. It's like it plays so poorly into Bolt. Ugh. I don't know. These two cards are not great currently. Like, I'd be totally happy discarding the Toxic Deluge this game in all likelihood. So maybe this is my line. Oh, thank you. Alright. Life's bad. So this is kind of exactly what I was talking about, right? So like now I have this Toxic Deluge, but I have a creature on board, and I'm going to end up killing my own creature in order to like get this out of the way. Yeah. Like, it's kind of sad to say, but I think this game's over. I think I'm just losing to this Oko. Hmm. I guess we're playing towards like Planeswalkers at this point. I can trade this Elk and Collective Brutality for Tarmogoyf. It's not exactly ideal. What other removal do I have? Bad removal here, bad removal here, bad removal here. Okay. Yikes. Let's just try to duress them this turn. Eh. Yep. We'll take the Drown in the Lock, leaving them with Lightning Bolt. I basically need Karn. Yeah, so like now this Toxic Deluge also kills this Mox. We're not technically dead, but we're effectively dead here. I am okay with conceding. Alright, what are we playing against this Delver deck? So I need a Sorcerer Spyglass in the board for Oko. All that stuff staying in the board. I'm going to board in Bridge. This stuff has to stay in the board unless I also board out Karns. So I have some massive problems here. In that, especially when I'm on the draw, I'm going to have a whole bunch of cards that are going to be bad in this matchup. And I'm not sure what to do about that. Like, when I'm on the draw, the Trinispheres are going to be pretty bad. And, like, as we saw that game, like, the Collective Brutalities, Toxic Deluge, Plague Engineers, Regisaur, Oko, like, all interact in really weird and somewhat clunky ways. And the Karns are super slow, but it was one of the things we were playing towards this game. Normally, I cut Karn in these sorts of decks, but I don't think I can really do that here, unfortunately. I also kind of need Karn to get Helm, and Bridge and Regisaur is super awkward together. Yikes. I do not know. I don't know that I can board in Bridge alongside Rotting Regisaur. Like, a lot of times I think I'm going to be on the Rotting Regisaur and Prey-based lines, and if I board in Bridge, I'm going to trip all over myself. No. Like, this has a turn 1 Chalice, but if my opponent forces that, I have literally nothing left afterwards. I can do better than that, I hope. This is also quite bad. My first play is on turn 3. I'm vulnerable to a decent amount of stuff. I don't have the ley line to make this work. So this would be my 6-card hand. It's just the same problem as the last hand, where I'm all in on one card. I have mana stability, but no ability to interact with my opponent or do anything meaningful in the first few turns of the game. And, like, I super don't want to be wastelanding them. This is the best one so far, but it's still pretty bad. So we throw back this Mox, and we try to keep the entire combo here. Hey, welcome. Do you think this deck needs to run To the Slaughter or Rider made just for Oko? I've been kind of impressed by... I forget what the first part of that card's name is. Murderous Rider? I've been kind of impressed by Murderous Rider in some of these shells. So I don't think that's unreasonable. I want to get a little more data before I, like, try to draw conclusions, but the first game we played felt pretty clunky. Like the sweepers alongside Plague Engineer is kind of rough. One of my co-hosts has been playing around with various Urza Chalice decks and been having a lot of fun with that. Brian, his YouTube channel is Bosch and Roll. He's posted a couple videos with decks like that have been doing pretty well for him. Other than that, it kind of depends on like what your idea of fun is. Like, you normally play lands, right? And it's just like not in the best position right now. Yeah, that guy. I don't know that there's a... Oh, you like Nick Fit and D&T. Okay, I'm slightly more comfortable playing a Karn into this board. This turn, because I can play around days. And now that I have the Karn, I can just try again next turn as well. I had a lot of fun playing Rug Delver with Rich. Margins were pretty slim on games. Ooh. So let's just kill this food here. And... okay, what gives them outs to this Karn? Decay can't hit it. We're looking for a potential Leyline Helm-based kill next turn. Otherwise, we have potential Lattice-based kill next turn. Double Bolt can answer Karn. Am I supposed to Wasteland? It's like tough. I think I'm gonna play around Double Bolt on Karn. Yeah, I enjoyed playing 4-color Loam quite a bit. I mean, this is how I like to see my opponents spending their turns. So I can just go for the Helm here. It puts Karn to 4. Food token would attack Karn for 3. I cast the Helm. So, like, the thing is, if I just keep plussing on this food, I keep parity with them, but, like, they can cantrip into something that pressures this Karn. I'm going to play this game super safe. I'll play a Sorcerous Spyglass here. That's fine. I didn't want to play around that because I want to keep the City of Traders for the future. Life's pretty awkward if that's a Tarmogoyf. So now I need to go for a Helm-based line. And the entire crux of the rest of this game is built around, can I afford to play around a Daze this turn? Because I can play New Karn minus New Karn, get Helm. And then next turn I have Helm plus Activate if I don't play around Daze this turn. But if I don't play around Daze this turn and my opponent has Daze, I basically lose the game on the spot, though. I think I am not playing around Daze, because, like, the worlds where I see myself winning involve this Karn resolving while I still have this land. Yeah, it's rough. Okay. So my opponent has had Pierce, Daze, Force this game, which is going to be rough for me in pretty much any scenario. I'm basically just playing to top deck Helm at this point. My lack of mana stability is super biting me in the butt this game. The fact that this just gets rid of an elk is super rough. I believe I'm stone cold dead to a wasteland. So thoughts based on that game. Playing both Toxic Deluge and Plague Engineer at the same time seems very awful, and Toxic Deluge alongside Ancient Tomb also seems pretty bad. Like, the fact that we would have had to pay 7 life to get rid of a Tarmogoyf that game probably is indicative that, like, these cards should not be played alongside each other. Like, it sets us up for some really cool Expert ones. But, like, similarly, once our creatures got elked that game, the Toxic Deluge was costing me a lot of my board. So, like, we have real deck building tension here. And I don't necessarily know what to do about that. Turn 1 Chalice on the draw. Assuming I hit a piece of gas, that's okay. I'm gonna see if I have any data on my opponent, because this hand's pretty bad. If they're just playing like Eldrazi or something. Yeah, they're playing Maverick, so I can't keep this hand. Can't keep this hand either. Yes. I keep 5 of these. This is just going to be a turbo Karn hand. Do I care about my opponent having 1 drops? I'm on the draw. So I could Chalice on 1, but hopefully Chalice on 1 doesn't super matter. I'm throwing this back. The second card's harder. If I keep all 3 of these, I have the possibility of going turn 2 Karn into turn 3 Lattice Lock. So I think I play towards that by throwing away my second black source. JK, not Maverick. I mean, could be. They were playing Bat Maverick just a couple days ago. Did they have a delta in that? They did not have a delta in that. Well, now I look like a fool for throwing away my Chalice. That's okay. Yep, throwing away the Chalice. Super bad. Doomsday. Okay. We'll see if we're dead now. If we're not dead now, there's a small chance that Karn mucks with a Doomsday pile by shutting off artifacts. Over or under on how long the Doomsday takes to resolve. Setting the over-under at the 20-minute mark on their clock. My thought is under, but it'll probably be close. Oh, not close. In my experience, if the Doomsday doesn't resolve within the first 30 seconds, a lot of times it takes forever to resolve. Given information I had, I still think it was correct to play out the hand the way that I did. but it's super unfortunate. Because we had a turn 3 goldfish in all likelihood versus this deck. They don't play very much disruption. Alright, so if you're not familiar with Thassa's Oracle, you look at the top X card of your library where X is your devotion to blue. So opponent has 2 devotion to blue right now, so they can look at the top 2 and then win. I think the way they'll need to look at this is like, what cards don't I want? So like, Plague Engineer is okay versus the Mentor side of the deck, so it's Toxic Deluge, but like, Crucible of Worlds seems very bad to me. I probably don't need to be playing Defense Grid. Like, my opponent has Force of Wills, but that's probably not how I want to be attacking this deck. Similarly, like, Sorcerer's Spyglass technically does things, but the things that it does don't super matter. Like, you can use it to stop cycling on some cards, but, like, they can just build a different Doomsday pile that works around that. No, Teferi is probably not something that I'm going to play around. Does Doomsday actually search the library? How is that worded? Yes, search your library. So I'm going to want Ashiok. And then from there, like, things are pretty awkward. So I guess this Helm is better in the sideboard than in the main deck. Like, bridges aren't great, Crucible's not great, Spyglass isn't great, Coding needs to stay in sideboard. The Crucible of Worlds are probably the worst things. No. Spyglass sucks. Fence Grid is not great. Crucible of World is probably worse. Yeah, I don't feel like we have a sideboard for this matchup. Like, I can just board in the other Helm in hopes of, like, having a faster Goldfish, and if I have Karn, I hope to win by just denying my opponent's resources. Because I think Crucible's pretty darn bad. Like, I can technically, like, Wasteland lock my opponent, but yeah. Turn 2 Trinisphere, turn 3 Regisaur is probably okay. We're going to be trying not to play this Urborg this game. That's fine. We're redundant to a Thoughtseize. So, like, opponent probably has to take the Regisaur unless they can also counterspell a Trinisphere or otherwise answer another Trinisphere. They are representing what they can. All right. Top deck another 3-ball? No. You've forced my hand. forced my Regisaur as well. Why can't they win through Helm and 5 mana? Like, in what world do I sit on Helm and 5 mana for the entirety of the game? Like, they would just win by playing Mentor instead. Like, sure, they can't cast Doomsday, but, like, that's whatever, right? So, like, it's interesting that they had Brainstorm and didn't go for finding a land on their turn, but they're willing to potentially Brainstorm lock themselves in response to this collective brutality. They may have a Doomsday or something like that. I think I need to play towards the possibility of Karn plus play a 2-drop off of Karn next turn by playing out this Urborg. It gives my opponent black mana, which like super sucks because they're obviously stuck on mana. Oh great, Toxic Deluge, you're here. This is pretty bad for me. Like, Ponder means that they can find a land, play Teferi next turn, bounce my Leyline, draw another card, try to get deeper towards lands or Mentor. What kind of cough is that? A human cough? As opposed to, say, a goat cough? I'm getting over bronchitis. That's a serious answer to that question. Like, I'm mostly good, but the cough is going to linger for a while. Someone with the right username always exists. Hey man, welcome. Not willing to just jam the Teferi into the empty board, huh? I guess I don't blame them. Like, I'm sitting on a bunch of cards, so it's very possible that I have Murderous Rider to the slot or something like that. So the fact that we don't really have sideboard slots that we can bring in feels pretty rough. Like, I do not want to be drawing this defense grid right now. And, like, I couldn't board out the deluges. Like, I didn't even have the option to. At any point, I'm dead to Doomsday, I imagine. Like, opponent has black, black, black due to my own Urborg, which I super reluctantly played out, but I think it was correct too. Fuck. There are 28 mana sources in this deck, so, like, this isn't super surprising. Oh yeah, if we resolve a Karn, we win. That's cool. But I'm dead to Doomsday here. Like, opponent has 5 cards in hand, so it should be really easy to set up a pile that can kill me. Yeah, and unlike some of the other mono black decks we played, we don't have much manipulation or card draw here. Like, there's no Bobs to help bail us out. So we're just we're stuck with whatever we get. Oh yes, please just mentor. All right, that jerk. Probably bounce my defense grid, I guess. No, just plussing. Okay. Give me justice with Karn. Thank you. I just win no matter what here. Opponent can't pay for spells. I don't think they have spirit guides or anything. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, like, I feel like we were incredibly lucky to win this game. I boarded in my Helm, otherwise we could have a Helm kill here. So all the same problems exist as previously, where I've gotten to board in 1 Helm and 2 Ashioks that kind of do something. I don't really know that, like, the Wasteland recursion is good. Do you want to play a black colorless card that costs you life that eats a mentor token each turn? I don't think I do. Toxic Deluge is not useless, so we have to consider Monastery Mentor out of the sideboard. So, like, I think Defense Grid is kind of bad. I think Brutality is pretty medium. I think Toxic Deluge is kind of medium. Plague Engineer is kind of medium. Like, our cards are bad here. But I think we like, kind of, since we don't have good cards to bring in, I think, like, we keep the Plague Engineers and Toxic Deluges to beat a potential mentor, and, like, we just kind of suck up the fact that our deck is super awkward right now. Like, I think a lot of our lines involving hand is awkward, but I probably keep it. Hey, Jerry Man, welcome. Regisaur is indeed here to party. What we do with our next turn is really tricky. No, I'm not going to Chalice on 0. Like, that stops some Lotus Petals on my opponent's side. And, like, that is, like, technically relevant. But I would much rather keep Mox Diamond as a live draw for me, because if Mox Diamond is a live draw, I can play Trinisphere next turn. I believe they're mostly off LED piles at this point. I don't have the list memorized or anything, but I think that most of the LED piles have gone the way of the Dodo since Thassa's Oracle got printed. And, like, if we consider how this turn has played out, like, if we played out the Chalice on 0, we would have lost our collective brutality, and we would have lost our primary play for this turn cycle because we played Chalice on 0, which was an anemic play last turn. And I really don't want to put this Herborg in play unless I have to. So saving it in hand to potentially discard it to Mox Diamond is an out that is eliminated if I play the Chalice on 0. That's awkward. Because I have this Herborg, then I probably have to play next turn to play Trinisphere, which is maybe getting Force of Willed. I probably have to take this Doomsday. If I didn't have the Herborg as my land for next turn, I could probably get away with not taking Doomsday there and taking Force of Will instead. Yeah, so if we use Romario's list as a baseline, they have 3 cards that a Chalice on 0 stops. So opponent chose not to shuffle out the Ponder. I know they have Force and they can pitch to Fairy for this Trinisphere, but I kind of have to just take the play here. I can't afford to miss my land drops. And I don't have the possibility of wastelanding them this turn, so... Because we played this Herborg, we've helped fix their mana. They only had black as of current board, but we have given them black, so a future Doomsday is live, and we'll beat through Trinisphere. Maybe not in the same turn, but in the following turn it should pretty easily. Yeah, I was gonna say. And because we have this Urborg, our Karn also loses value in that it's not stopping Astrolabe. So I know my opponent has Force of Will, and they presumably have a blue card because they bounce this Trinisphere to play towards this line. I think I need to play the Plague Engineer this turn rather than my Trinisphere, so that I can potentially attack and kill the Teferi so the Trinisphere doesn't get bounced in a future turn. Yeah, we're only 2 rounds in, but this list is feeling much more clunky than some of the other lists that we've played recently that were mono black. The absence of Dark Ritual here feels pretty big. Like, it's much harder for me to turn 1 the Trinisphere or other 3-drops. Like, Ashiok doesn't become a turn 1 play. The Urborgs have been a disaster. The Plague Engineers and Toxic Deluge don't play well together. We'll see. We'll see what we can salvage in this league. But, like, some of my cards are shutting off other of my cards on a pretty regular basis, and I don't feel like my sideboard options are strong. Like, a huge portion of this sideboard is dedicated to the Karn. Well, this isn't what the sideboard actually looks like because I've already boarded, but a huge portion of the sideboard is dedicated to the Karn package. And then I have, like, some oddly narrow cards in Dystopia that, like, are cripplingly good in some matchups, but leave me with very, very few playables that I can actually bring into my deck. It feels very awkward. Note, in case you're confused about what's happening here, when Teferi pluses, it doesn't matter that the Teferi is gone. Its ability gives your cards, like, flash until the next turn cycle. So, like, it's not a requirement that the Teferi is still on the board. This is a nuisance, but it doesn't, like, super... Like, it just gets my opponent 1 card deeper into their deck. Like, Plague Engineer kills Teferi. I mean, yeah, opponent isn't drawing well, but we're drawing worse. So, there's that. Yeah, so we probably still just lose to that. Opponent has Force of Will for the Trinisphere. I don't even know that I could actually kill them just by attacking them with Plague Engineer in time due to like the Teferi that's also on the board. If I don't attack and kill that, then like Teferi bounces Plague Engineer, buys a turn, draws them a card deeper in their deck. So like obviously I stumbled on mana this game, and that's a good portion of the reason why I'm losing. But like even say that I hit a land drop for Karn, what am I doing with my life? Like once I have that Karn? Like liquid metal coating their lands when my Urborg still gives them black, black, black for Doomsday. I had to like reluctantly board in the Helm to get playables. I can't like wasteland lock them off Crucible. If I had one more land, I still wouldn't have had the 3 more lands that I need to get to Lattice. I'm tripping all over myself here. Yes, indeed. Alright, so now I have to play this really weird guessing game about, like, how do I actually beat them? I don't think I can, is the short answer to it. Whatever I do probably gets forced, so, like, my decision tree is a moot point here. But assuming that they set up their Doomsday pile knowing that the Trinisphere is coming, it might be better to Chalice on 1 in case their pile involves Brainstorm. Chalice on 0 probably does nothing. I don't foresee them having LED or Petal in their pile. I think I'm supposed to Chalice on 1 instead. No, I expect to be dead if they untap without me resolving a spell. Okay, that card didn't matter. Do I wasteland them? If I wasteland them, I can't Trinisphere on my next turn. If I get a next turn. I don't think the 1 mana matters. If they got it, they got it. They have Street Raid, Edge of Autumn as double cyclers. Kind of depends on what's on top of their library here. Yep. Okay. So they made their pile so that they had the Thassa's Oracle not at the very bottom, which was smart. I mean, I'm streaming Legacy 5 days this week, so welcome. If you are a huge Legacy fan, you should be following this channel. Hey, and there it is. So, what else do I have in the queue for this week? what, today's Tuesday. So Cephalid breakfast was yesterday night. This Mono Blacklist today. Playing Nick Fit tomorrow. Maverick Thursday, and Enchantress Friday. A legacy-filled week. Super excited for it. Yeah. So way back in January, I was going to have a stream with Daryl Errors, and then I got bronchitis, and I just kind of like put that off. And I think, been playing more Delver than not recently, and I just had Rich on as a guest. So I'm just gonna do something with Daryl some other time, and I've replaced it with some Maverick content. So I don't think I get to throw this hand back, but this is a YOLO hand. So the question in this game is, am I playing Trinisphere on turn 2, or am I just ignoring the Trinisphere and playing Karn? I think I still play the Trinisphere on turn 2. If my City of Traders gets wastelanded, I'm super screwed, though. I think there's a ban coming soon to Legacy. Yeah, but the card that's going to get banned might not even be spoiled yet. No, I don't think there's any card in the current format that deserves to be banned at this time. We might get some degenerate stuff in the next set. Alright, we're just kind of doing our thing here. We'll lose to Hex Mage plus Urborg plus Spirit Guide here. So many Karns. um, I don't know if I can wasteland my opponent. I also don't know if I'm supposed to play around Urborg discard. I think I just have to sit on this wasteland. But like it's super awkward because of Spirit Guide. It's also possible that I'm not supposed to minus this Karn this turn. Well, that is super annoying. So I let that resolve, Karn minus get bridge, or I let that resolve and Karn dies, then I... That's probably a removal spell for Karn. No, I literally don't care about the 2020 if my Karn lives because I minus and get Ensnaring Bridge. Yeah. So this is going to be Karn minus get bridge, hope to mise land off the top to not die to Dark Depth. I think if I wasteland them and lose my city this turn, I just end up like too far behind. Like I can play to not die, and playing to not die is real easy. I just wasteland them twice, losing all 3 of my lands in process. But I feel like my opponent draws out of that on average faster than I do because I can't play out my City of Traders as lands early on, and I can't use my Moxen as mana. I think this is the line that plays to win. So like this is a line that telegraphs to my opponent that I have a land for next turn, which means that they have to use a discard spell on me this turn rather than just make the 2020. So I might buy more time than I normally would by just doing this. So playing the coding, like the line you're suggesting, would lose to a wasteland pretty easily. Like they wasteland my wasteland and go off in response because the Dark Depths can like they have 1/2 mana plus activate already up, so that if they just have a wasteland for my wasteland, I am on like literally 0 outs. I would have had to spike Soul Land specifically there. We're not turning Trinisphere sideways before anyone asks, because turning Trinisphere sideways shuts it off. I don't think I can afford to wasteland them. If I pick wrong and they have redundancy in their combo at all, it's just super bad for me. I'll lose out to a second wasteland. So unlike traditional Karn lists, we do have another bridge in the sideboard, which is super good. Sure, but if I wasteland this, I also take myself off a black and eliminate the possibility of casting some things that might be relevant in the matchup. Like, I think it's more relevant to sit on this wasteland and use it to actually cast a spell. Like, if I draw a soul land, having this wasteland in play means that I can resolve an ensnaring bridge, which is just huge. If they try to make a Merit Lodge, I wasteland them in response. They lose 2 lands. I don't understand, but okay. Like, this puts me down to 0 lands, but, like, unless you also have, like, another copy of Stage Depths in hand, I don't think this makes a lot of sense. Okay, that is just what is going to happen. You have to have Spirit Guide if you want to play Hexmage. So it super sucks that we have to play this Polluted Delta, but playing the Polluted Delta plays to our outs. So I'm thinking about Karn minusing. And just getting a Crucible. Because I have a bunch of dead cards in hand, so I don't care about the things that I'm discarding. And this is something that, like, might actually set me up to win the game if I somehow don't die next turn. No, some of the other mono black decks do that. They play Vault of Whispers. Alright. I'm just gonna pause for a moment and let you all soak in that play. Get rid of one of my Urborgs in order to play a Lotus Petal that is a dead card. Oh, buddy. That is a draw. So, what do I do with it? I can shut off my Trinisphere? Well, my Trinisphere seems pretty good. Like, if I'm holding up this Wasteland, my opponent can't die. Like, if I tap this Trinisphere, I can put Liquid Metal Coating into play. So it's plus on Trinisphere, attack with Trinisphere, do 3, Liquid Metal Coating, stop either Urborg or Depth from being mana producers. Opponent would need land plus Spirit Guide. Maybe it's fine to play Liquid Metal Coating. Well, I wouldn't be wastelanding it, I'd be holding it up. Shouldn't have fetched. I want to draw lands. So opponent can cast a 1-mana discard spell this turn. Whether or not they realize they can do that is an entirely different thing. How the fuck did we win that game? We did not deserve that win. We did not deserve that win at all. Okay, so what are we doing against this deck? I probably want Ashiok's. I probably just want to board in the Spyglasses. I want to leave one... Alright, so like what needs to be in the board? This, and this is questionable. Like these two are questionable. So like those 5 cards are coming in for sure. Yeah, we somehow won. So I think Deluge is very bad. I think Trinisphere on the draw... Alright, no. I think Defense Grid is very bad. Like, it stops crop rotations on your turn and everything, which is, like, kind of cool, but... eh. And I think Trinisphere on the draw is pretty bad. So that puts me at 59. I disagree. I think one of those bridges needs to stay in the sideboard. Like, I have 4 Karns, and I can play them relatively early on. I think I need to treat Karn as something that can both preemptively stop the combo via Liquid Metal Coating, and can do it after the fact via Ensnaring Bridge. I think leaving one bridge is super important. I understand your reasoning, but I disagree with it. And then I need to take one of Crucible or Helm into the deck. I think I'm going to take Crucible into the deck. This leaves Collective Brutality, which is okay. It leaves Regisaur plus a bunch of bridges, which is awkward, but, like, so it goes. Need another muffin. Refuel. This hand's fine. This hand produces turn 2 Karn. And Plague Engineers on turn 1 for Vampire Hex Mage. This hand is pretty good. No, I believe that Leyline of the Void is actually our pitch here. We're going to try to win via Karn artifacts. We'll see if that names Wasteland or Karn. It's awkward if it names Karn. Nice. Alright, good stuff. Vampire Hex Mage is a Vampire Shaman, is that correct? Yeah, we'll name Shaman with our Plague Engineer to sound cool. Nah, I like putting it on a Vampire. I like the flavor of it just being a vampire killer. Get me a Belmont. That's what Plague Engineer is right now. My Ancient Tomb got better. Boo. How about we just top deck another one of those, though? That'd be cool. Unfortunately, since we have taken 2 life with Ancient Tomb, we can't go to above 20 with Collective Brutality to survive a Merit Lodge hit. We're on very few outs. Very, very few outs. Right, Dark Depths and Stage remain in hand. We need a bridge or one of the edicts. Karn is not going to do it at 6 mana. That also doesn't do it. I assume they're like 95% to go for it, but I'm just gonna like pass, not attack. Oh no, fuck it, I'm attacking. Show strength. Try to force them to do it. I mean, to be fair, I go for it in their position as well. Transfer becomes more interesting on the play. But I still don't know that I actually do that. Like, collective brutality is kind of medium, but, like, definitely serves purposes. Yeah, I think I'm just going to submit this as is again. Do I keep turn 1 Spyglass into turn 2 Spyglass with 2 dead cards in hand? I don't think I can justify throwing this back, but this is not a good hand. I'm like super unhappy with this. But I don't think I can throw back like back-to-back disruptive plays and expect to get something better. Okay, so this is actually interesting. So I could disrupt Verdant Catacombs so that they don't have access to green or double black with this current hand. And they would have to Lotus Petal Duress on turn 1 if they want to Duress me turn 1. But if they do Lotus Petal Duress me, it's super bad. I think I just stopped the Hex Mage here. Except that my other Sorcerer Spyglass gets got. And then make them do everything the slow way. The Verdant Catacombs line is a super high upside line if our opponent doesn't Petal Duress us, but if they do Petal Duress us, like, the line sucks. And I think since I'm... Or no, I didn't mulligan. It just felt like I mulliganed. So their hand already has access to both pieces of the combo, unfortunately. So we're going to be dead pretty quickly. I think my opponent made a pretty big mistake on their turn in like not playing out Lotus Petal crop rotation, like Lotus Petal 4 crop rotation. Because if I rip Wasteland off the top, I set them back a lot. Well, that's just a little bit too slow. Do I need to draw something like Ensnaring Bridge or Edict? Or my opponent needs to make a mistake? Yeah, we can go to 21. We have Collective Brutality. Goodbye, Leyline. I don't know that it was correct to do that duress. Opponent has one unknown card. They could have Elder Spirit Guide, in which case it's correct to do that. Oh my god. Get him! Oh, they do. Indeed. Not disputing it. So opponent's hand is still very good. Let me just say that. Like, they have the combo already. Like, they just make one more land drop, play Hex Mage, crop rotation for Dark Depths, and they just do it again. So, like, I'm still very much on the brink of death. But, like, it's a game of Magic now. Alright. Forgot this card did things. Thank you. Something I talk about a decent amount, but, like, streaming's hard. Like, your focus is on whatever happens most recently and, like, talking a good portion of the time. And it's very easy to forget things that are on board that you would, like, 100% never miss if you are actually fully focused on the game. So this is weird, but I think I just want to resolve another Helm this turn. So that I play a second Helm around discard, and I can use the first Helm to try and find a Vampire Hexmage or an Elvish Reclaimer to trade with their own, or like a Tireless Tracker, maybe, even. Well, Maelstrom Pulse is already going to beat me, right? Like, if one has like a Pulse or a Decay, they like get rid of the Spyglass, and I'm dead. Friggin' Mox Diamond. Alright. So now I need to try and mill the thespian stages here so that I don't die. I milled a thespian stage. I can remove all the counters from their dark depths. Alright. GG's, we're at 17. I can too remove all the counters from their dark depths. That is a thing that I can do. However... Alright. Spyglass is bad. Why are we playing Spyglass? It stopped me from giving my opponent a 20-20. Alright, I'm going to take 30 seconds and run to the bathroom. I'll be right back. No, be right back. Alright, let's hop back into it. For anyone who tuned in recently, hi, my name is Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, and here on this channel, we're playing a little bit of everything. We're having a rough day so far today with this list. It's felt pretty clunky, and there's kind of some nombos in the deck building that we've gotten caught up in, but we'll see if we can get ourselves some play points back nevertheless. not sure on a lot of things. At this point, I'll probably like save a lot of that discussion for the tail end of the stream when we do the debrief. But as a whole, it's just felt clunky. Yeah, sad face confirmed for previous game. Nope. Yep. And the scry's kind of hard. I think I'm going to throw back a swamp. I think that's the line that gives me the best flexibility. Like if my opponent were just playing something like Maverick, it gives me collective brutality on turn 2. We're most likely facing down like some sort of like snow code sort of deck. Yeah, I mean, Lurin's possible. I would trend towards this just being some sort of like Oko pile. No play in 3 turns is definitely weird, though. Let's see if we can figure out what's going on over there. You want to brainstorm in response? I see. So all of this is very awkward for me. I probably need to take the Force of Will since it's the most flexible answer. But this does not feel good. Well, in Magic Online, most of the time, like, you get paired somewhat randomly. So, like, don't think of this as being in the 03 flat bracket. Think of this as being, like, the person who was available to play. I don't know how many basics I play. My life total is also relevant to this match because my opponent is trying to win via creatures. So this blanks the Drown in the Loch that's in their hand. This Commandeer is kind of annoying. Yeah, Commandeer gets non-creatures. So this To the Slaughter is going to kill my Rotting Regisaur, and then my opponent's going to get through with the Ninja, and this game probably spirals out of control. So the question is, like, am I going to wasteland this fetch land? Not going to play that. One, two, three, four, five, 6 mana. This is Karn plus a 2-drop. If that's something that occurs, Karn plus a 2-drop isn't relevant. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So current board allows me to Karn into Lattice. Whereas if I wasteland, I don't. But I don't really want them to To the Slaughter plus some other BS. I'd rather have To the Slaughter be their entire turn. I also can't really cast Karn because of Commandeer, right? Gain control of target non-creature spell, so like I'd cast a Karn, they'd gain control of it, and I lose. Well, I don't lose, but like then they start blowing up my chalices and their cards are live again. Hold up. What? Miss Chalice, though. Miss Chalice, though. So this Rotting Regisaur is like 100% to get deaded by To the Slaughter. No. So that's not in their hand anymore. So why are they not casting To the Slaughter? Why did they not cast it on their turn and then attack? I guess they have some sort of counterspell? What? I do not understand. I lose the game to my own card now? My Karn plussing on my Chalice is unlocking their cards. I can't cast this card. I just lose to it. Like, it destroys both of my Chalices, unlocks their cards, and means that I can't Leyline Helm. I know they have one blue card that's dead. And then they have 4 other cards in hand, one of which is almost certainly blue. Nope. Free Thief, as well as Termagurf. Thank you very much for following. How do you win? I don't. That's my honest answer. I need them to cast Commandeer on a non-relevant card. So that I can resolve Karn. Get Ensnaring Bridge, win target game somehow. I think we're done here. Let's save the mental energy for the next game. Alright. So an Edict is fine. Actually, let's do this the other way. What cards suck? Spyglass, it does some work against, like, the Retrofitter Foundry. But as a whole is probably bad. Crucible as a whole is probably bad. Trinisphere is probably very, very, very actively good. Chalice is probably kind of bad. Collective Brutality is not great. Defense Grid is good. So, like, here's kind of my problem, right? Like, we have, like, basically nothing to sideboard for most matches. Like, Spyglasses aren't boardable. The bridges aren't great versus ninjas. Like, they're too small. Like, I'll want to Karn Tutor for one if things are going in a very specific direction, but eh. So, like, I have 7 cards I want to board out, and it's very difficult for me to actually board in cards. So, like, I'll board in those. Chalice, it just seems awful. And then, like, I have more cards that I can't board out. I guess I play another Sorcerer Spyglass to Mize Fetch Lands or name Retrofitter Foundry. Like, opponent is going to have too many creatures, and Ashiok is going to get pressured, so that's just not going to sit there in Mize games. Like, if I was a Dark Ritual deck and I could power out on turn 1, it's an entirely different thing, but I'm not. Maybe one more Spyglass is better than Crucible. Like, my opponent showed me a lot of basics. This hand is super awkward, but I have to keep it. That is an insane draw. That is so good for me. We're hoping to draw a land next turn. Wow. Super surprised that just resolved. There's a Trinisphere in play. What are you doing? So whatever I cast here just resolves. How many cards does my opponent have that actually destroy Helm of Obedience? Probably very few. Bouncing it is more likely than actually destroying it. So I'm just going to resolve a Helm here. Opponent could have a light red splash for artifact removal. Like, it wouldn't be insane. But, like, given the tempo aspects of ninjas, I'd be more expecting bounce. If opponent, like, uses their turn to bounce Helm and then I replay Helm, they're dead to a land. Trinisphere is considerably worse on the draw, but again, my boarding options kind of suck. I guess I'm not happy about it. Like, despite the fact that I have 4 castable spells and 5 possible mana by turn 3, I don't really think this hand's great. Strong. Alright, well, we named Retrofitter Foundry. I mean, the good news is my opponent's hand kind of sucks too. Nice. We'll just Miza Wind with Karn. And then, like, we don't need to play around the Murderous Cut at all. So next turn is Liquid Metal Coating, blow up a land, and then probably play Regisaur. Or just, like, Triumph away an Ornithopter very awkwardly. Yes. Ninjutsu is an activated ability, so I could Spyglass, you know, something like Yuriko or something like that. So, like, that's something that can occur. But, like, Retrofitter Foundry is a really slow but really annoying card against, like, a deck like ours, because we can't close out games in most cases. We just kind of, like, sit there. Unless we're on a Regisaur draw. And so, like, that thing turning Thopters into whatever into 4/4s is pretty good. Yeah, it's one of those things that can come up, but isn't necessarily going to come up frequently. Hi, have a good one. You too. How do you feel about turn 1 Trinisphere? Rockin' Otis, thank you very much for throwing your Twitch Prime money this way. That's your fourth month. I really appreciate the support. Even though we're getting bullied here, I hope you are enjoying the content nevertheless. And if you use Discord, don't forget to get into our Discord server. We're going to be brewing a deck there, potentially around Ikoria cards, kind of depending on what people are in the mood for. Had a few things proposed so far. Some people have said suppression field. I brought up I forget what it's called, but like the new white pseudo True Name Nemesis card. I brought up that. I think that card can be pretty good in a Chalice Shell. And like that could be played in the same deck as Suppression Field as well. Street Wraith. So we're probably playing against Death Shadow Delver. Mothra combo, that's right. So Preordain here may be indicative of just Doomsday and not Death Shadow. Yeah, alright. We're playing against Doomsday. In which case turn 1 Trinisphere is about the best that we can do. Alright, so the first thing we do is we play a Swamp. And then we play Mox Diamond and we say, fuck you, Urborg, get out of my hand, don't enable my opponent's Doomsday. The next thing we do is play another Mox Diamond. Lava Brink Ranger, maybe? Sounds vaguely correct. And then, like, there's obviously a handful of cards from Ikoria that, like, are potentially busted. The legendary 3-drop partner, companion card being the one that is most likely broken. But I think that just slots cleanly into already existing decks rather than, like, you needing to build a specific deck around it. Excuse me. I don't think we need any more free counter spells in Legacy. Alright, I need a top deck that does something. Opponent already used their Street Wraith. So they can Edge of Autumn Brainstorm. And it'll still take them another turn to go off. Yeah, a lot of people have started messing around with Doomsday, especially since Romario got second place in the Super Prelim. I think it's fine. We talked about it a decent amount on the previous episode of the Eternal Glory podcast. We're all fucking other Urborg. We're all kind of unsure about how much staying power that deck really has. Like, no one's sideboarding for it yet. Really? So, like, it still has that brewer's advantage where, like, people don't know how to play against it. Oh, wow, they have multiple Street Wraiths. Did you not leave yourself a land for your Doomsday pile? Well, the yep. Yes. G. G. Okay, so how do we board against this before? Didn't we, like, not board very many cards? Alright, let's do this the other direction. So, like... Alright, this was the situation where all of our cards are sketchy, right? Yeah, that's what happened. So, like, Ashiok is actively good. Can consider just bringing in the other Helm. The spyglasses are really loose. So, like, I think I cut the spyglass before. That indeed did just happen. You gotta learn somehow, right? You learn by playing. Leagues are low-stakes events. That's where you learn. Well, the league results are poor, but I'm doing great. Turn 1, make a 7/7. Sorry, 7/6. Is that good enough? I think it would be good enough on the play. I don't know that it's good enough on the draw. It's super awkward if they thought sees me. Then, like, my hand literally does nothing. Fuck it. This is really good against the Doomsday side of the deck, assuming that we don't get thought seized on 1. Nice. Sure. I'm actually not sad about that. Like, the Pierce means that some future spell is more likely to resolve. That, like, actually has relevant text. Alright. So, some of the Doomsday lists have 2 copies of that. So opponent goes to 9. They tap Waterlogged Grove to 8. I attack them for 7. They chump block. They tap that Waterlogged Grove and Regisaur connects. They're dead. Alternatively, I'm just using Toxic Deluge for X equals 3 to shrink this thing. Put in for 4. If they have Second Thassa's Oracle, like I suspect they do based on their play patterns, then I'm potentially just dead here. It really depends on what they have left in hand. So I think I need to kill this Thassa's Oracle in case the top card of their library is just the next Thassa's Oracle, because Devotion to Blue matters here quite a bit. So I don't know how they set up their pile, but if they set up their pile to win via 4 Devotion, we get there this turn. But if they set up their pile that they can win without tapping this land, I lose. Oh, that's a good point. If I make the attack, they potentially take 7 instead. But I give them the opportunity to chump block. Nobody knows how the fuck Companion works. I would not even start asking questions about some of that stuff until we get, like, long rules articles about them. So, like, the line that I took guarantees that I push some damage that turn, whereas if I don't Toxic Deluge first, I don't push damage first. I start with a ley line, but that doesn't really do anything. Mulligan. This hand also doesn't do anything. Mulligan. This hand will do something. It's a turn 1 Chalice on 1. And I'm not sure what else. So this is my roll to 5, so I have to put 2 back. Not. So it's not going to be one of these 4. I need all of these. And then I put 2 of the remaining 3 back. Probably Deluge. So like this is going back. And then the second one's harder. I think I put back the ley line. If this doesn't resolve, I save this Chalice. If this does resolve, I also Chalice on 0. So the Doomsday side of the deck is a little harder, but like my opponent can just play a Mentor, cast dead cards into this, and I'll die pretty easily. I don't think we're likely to lose to 1-3 beats, but I think we're pretty likely to take 5+ damage to 1-3 beats. Now I have 2 oracles. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8. I think I still just wasteland them here, take them off a color. The green's not super relevant, but the second black might be. I'm not going to fetch to thin. My life total's super relevant here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I get Karn with 3 mana available. We have Lattice Lock next turn. Opponent can now not combo off. All right, we mised a 2/3 out of that somehow, which I'm pretty happy with. Let's break down the awkwardness of this deck. So all this is meant as constructive criticism, but I don't think this deck works. I think this deck is trying to do too many things, and as a result of trying to do too many things, it does most of those things pretty poorly. So we are an atrocious Rotting Regisaur deck, because we can't power it out on turn 1 via Dark Ritual. And we have these late game cards that are probably going to get stuck in our hand for a little while, and by playing Regisaur we lose out on the ability of casting a bunch of our game-winning cards in a lot of scenarios. We have cards like Collective Brutality that don't play well with our soul lands. We have Plague Engineers that are supposed to sit on the board and accrue value and trade with things, but we also have Toxic Deluge. We have the Crucible for these Wastelands and City of Traders, but when we don't have those, these Crucibles feel pretty terrible. So I feel like this list has spread itself too thin, and as a result, it doesn't do anything particularly well. A lot of our individual game wins came off the back of essentially just Karn. I feel like most of the games we won, it was directly or indirectly due to Karn just taking over the game. And relatively speaking, this portion of the deck felt like dead or bad draws in most of the games. And it's kind of tough to hear that when, like, you put work into a brew and you try to refine it. But I don't think this deck list works as is. I think there's just too much tension. Like, I don't think you get to be the Wasteland, Crucible, Regisaur, Engineer, Deluge, Defense Grid, Karn, Helm, Chalice, Trinisphere deck when all of these things are working on attacking from slightly disparate angles. So some of the other mono black decks are successful because they're essentially built on one focus. I'm going to ramp into something big that will win the game by itself. And this deck has enough situational and enough reactive cards that are often dead that I just have nothing to do most of the time. So we have 28 mana sources. Almost a third of our deck is... Sorry, almost half of our deck is land, or otherwise mana sources. And, like, if we count Crucible in that pile, then that's literally half of our deck is mana. And as far as actual win conditions go, it's these cards plus Regisaur. So, like, we have 9 cards that actually win us the game. And that's pretty low. Yeah, definite room for improvement. I would, like, if you want to continue to play with the Regisaurs, I would try and figure out what portion of this deck you can cut in order to focus your plan more. Because as of right now, like, the plan is unfocused. Like, Engineer Deluge is bad together. Like, Defense Grid in the main deck is probably not good. And then the sideboard sucks right now. Like, you need to play... Alright, can I sort this somehow? Like, if we look at the sideboard, there's a bunch of 2-ofs. Like, there's 2-ofs in these. And I don't think you can afford all these 2-ofs when you're trying to play this, like, Karn tutor board. Because, like, every one of these 2-ofs that you have, like these cards, and then these super narrow cards, these are taking away from things that could be generic sideboard cards that you could bring in for matchups where some of your individual cards are bad. And so, like, your Karn package probably needs to look like this. You probably cut the Crucible from this. I don't even know if Ashiok is good without Dark Ritual to power it out on turn 1. Like, that's the biggest boon of Ashiok in the other mono black lists that I've played. And, like, I don't think you can play Dystopia. I think it's too narrow. Like, it's really powerful in, like, the Death and Taxes and Maverick matchups, but otherwise, like, it's slow removal when you're under pressure, trying to protect Karn. That's bad. Like, the deck lacks focus. Like, either you try to be this, like, controlling Karn, Bridge, Helm, Leyline deck, or you try to be a more aggressive deck with Rotting Regisaur, and maybe you supplement it with some other 3-drop threat that can be accelerated out early. But it's too unfocused right now to do anything well. Yeah, Reapal Cheap, that's a good way to put it. It needs to decide if it's going to be this go big deck or if it's going to be an aggro deck. Yeah, I 100% agree. Suggestions for an Oko Hate card for the sideboard. So it's probably Sorcerous Spyglass still. Otherwise, you just play like some Murderous Riders or something like that in the main deck that can answer creatures or planeswalkers. That's something that's seen play in a couple of the decks. So, like, say, hypothetically, you have, like, 3 main deck Murderous Riders, and then 1 or 2 Sorcerous, maybe, like, 2 Sorcerous Spyglass in the 75 or something like that. Like, maybe that ends up covering your bases enough for Oko. It's definitely something to think about. All right, folks, I hope you've enjoyed this. It was a rough league in some regards, but we managed through. We maybe didn't deserve a couple of our wins, but we got them nevertheless. So I will be back again tomorrow with... What are we doing? Enchantress tomorrow? No. So tomorrow is a cat fit deck. It is a Witch's Oven, Veteran Explorer, Orcish Lumberjack, Corvold, Fey Cursed King deck that uses Cauldron Familiar and Witch's Oven as well as Corvold to try and do some shenanigans. Have a great rest of the day, folks. I don't see too many of my regulars on, so we'll just host someone from the recommended channels here. Oh, yeah, where'd we go? The deck from today definitely tried to do too many things. This is also going to be a deck that probably tries to do too many things, but, like, it's Nick Fit, so we forgive it. That's how it works, right? Let's raid Conister MTG. You're in the recommended channels. Have fun, enjoy the rest of your day, folks. And if you're not already following and you enjoy Legacy content, you should be following.